Hello everyone, welcome back to the TJOmega channel for day 916 of our daily content drive, and guess what? Today was the day. A lot of us, in fact, exactly 28,230 of us, might have felt a pain in the middle of the night as something was ripped very violently from our wallets. That was Haslab officially taking the money for their legacy Robots in Disguise 2001 Omega Prime. The Haslab campaign is over. It is all said and done. Congrats all around to everyone who managed to get a hold of this. Everyone, good job. We did it. By blowing our money together, we did it. So just in case you want the math behind that, that's over $7 million that was thrown at this in order to make this happen. Just so you have that figure in your head. Now, as it happens, that is the largest figure that has happened in Transformers as far as numbers go. 28,000 plus is the most any Transformer Haslab has ever received. We have Death Source coming in second with just under 1,000 less than that. So it's always close with the Transformers campaigns. Victory Saber's not far behind that either. But it does show that, there's always a bit of confidence when it comes to these. The Haslabs have been consistently very good for the Transformer brand. And it's really cool to see how well the Omega Prime campaign actually did. And I know there's some people out there going, well, obviously, it's a very popular character, but also, it's actually a very underused version of Optimus Prime. So the awareness really wasn't there. Hence why it's appropriate for Haslab, I assume. It's just to give you a little bit of a visual comparison. So someone on TFW 2005 by the name of Translucent Bag has been doing graphs of the progress for the Haslabs. Here is where he put everything with just a few days to go. This is not the final number, but you can see just how ridiculous this one took off. Like right there in the middle of the campaign, it was actually doing numbers twice as fast as Star Saber was, which is absolutely insane to me. For a while, it looked like it was going to blow past every Haslab ever, Transformers or otherwise. It did taper off and eventually just hit the same kind of levels that most Transformer projects hit. But for a while there, it was looking kind of intense. Like, if you look at that middle, like right at the 25-day mark, that's the reason why we thought they were going to do a secret tier 3 at the last minute. To throw something else in to drive more, because it looked like it was going to hit its goals so fast that we would not, that we need something to keep it going after that. But, like I said, it's almost the most successful Haslab ever. The only one to beat it is Galactus from the Marvel Legends run. 30,811. So, okay, about 2,000 or so behind that. We came close. So, I just wanted to do this little bit of a wrap-up video to just kind of go over the Haslab itself, where it went right, where it went wrong, what's to come now, and just kind of cover and tag all the bases again, because there's still a lot of discourse around this one. There's still a lot of confusion around this one, so we're just going to talk about it one last time. From here on out, Hasbro's going to do what Hasbro does. You're probably going to see news roundups from me on Monday that are going to discuss the updates as they're in production for the toy. We'll probably get every step of the way, just like we did for Victory Saber and Death Stars, which, at least will make for some interesting news conversations to have. But for now, we're just going to go off of what exactly went on with this campaign. Now, obviously, extremely successful campaign. I think it got funded faster than any Transformer campaign previously had. So we knew we were going to get it like a month ago. Like a month ago, we knew we were going to get, at the very least, Omega Prime. So we had that going for us. That That was awesome to see. It was awesome to see the progress. It's also a campaign that was met with some confusion because we had already heard from Mark from the Transformers team that this wasn't supposed to be a thing. Like, it was one of those things that, like, was mentioned by someone at Hasbro, so everyone took it as gospel, and they said, oh, there's a rule with Haslabs that they can never be Optimus Prime because Optimus Prime never needs to be a Haslab. Optimus Prime has no trouble selling at retail, so why would we put him in a Haslab? Okay, fair enough, but we know that's not true now. We know that's not true. So you ask Evan directly, and that actually wasn't a rule. He admits that it is not a solid rule. He admits that he assumed things. And you know what? I've been there. I've made assumptions before, and people have treated it like gospel. It's how my reviewing career started, because I made assumptions about silly toys from Japan. I was very, very wrong. You know, it happens. Honest mistake. You know, but at the very least, you know, we got, you know, like some like clarification on that. Don't all like sometimes the designers, sometimes the people at Hasbro that you can reach out to on social media, sometimes don't take everything at face value. You know, there's some things they can't say. There's some things they're going to say because they think that's what's going on when it's not. Let's just not take it all that seriously anymore, or at the very least, do what Nemesis Slime did and double check. That's that's probably the approach to take. This was a Haslab campaign met with some level of hostility, because this is one where everyone kind of said, why does this need to be Haslab? And you make the Optimus Prime comparison there as well. Why does an Optimus Prime need to be a Haslab? Just make it a Commander class toy and release it at retail. So, on a technical level, we have been explained many times why this particular project could not happen at the retail level, because the time, attention, and budget toys like these need to correctly function, you can't do it at at a limited price point. For starters, we know they already said they'd have to be smaller in order to be released as Commander class toys. These are a little bit larger than our current size of Commander. Compare it to like Jetfire, you know, our original. Okay, fine. Jetfire's about the same size, maybe a little bigger. But Jetfire is also way more simple than either of these two. Like, we're talking probably around double the part count of Jetfire in each of these figures individually. You have to account for that because that's extra weight, extra assembly, extra molds. That's an expensive figure. That is not feasible. Okay, so we've done the cost breakdown. We know that, like, if you weigh everything, it starts to balance out to basically a little bit higher, a little bit premium Commander. But for that, we're getting very solid versions of these figures. They don't have to be hollowed out. They don't have to be simplified. The paint apps don't have to be skimped. Everything can be the way it's supposed to be, and then they can do a little bit more. They can add articulation. They can add stronger joints. They can add beefier construction. They can add a completely new figure that never existed before. Hi, Blue Bolts. Hi, how you doing? So, I'm fine with all that. We'll get into that even more. It's still the size thing that kind of like dictates everything here. Because to make Ultra Magnus work, to make him function the way you want that Ultra Magnus to function, he needs to be able to carry 3 cars in vehicle mode. And with deluxe size cars, that basically means he has to be a certain size, which means Optimus Prime has to be a certain size, which means Haslab it is. There's a much bigger reason. So these are kind of the arguments I made. These are kind of the arguments I made before. Because when you look at it, yes, they are beefier, very complex toys than a Commander typically would be these days, on top of everything else they have to do. But also, you know, they come with 2 very large, solid bases. They also come with the Matrix Blade, which is big enough to be a real dagger. you factor all this in, and $250 is not a bad price point for everything you are getting. You're getting two larger than Commander figures that are more complex and more solid than standard Commanders. You're getting a $25 deluxe. You're getting two display stands. You're getting a big accessory. You're paying a little bit of a premium on top of that, but really not that much. Really not that much. But since I made those arguments originally, I know that's not going to satisfy anyone. Like, I'm sorry if it's an expensive package to you and you can't afford it. I don't have any control over that. I apologize. These will be available secondhand later. Sorry. Start saving. And I do understand that releasing it this way does make it very cost prohibitive for a lot of people. That's an unfortunate truth about it. There are a lot of people who would rather it be a Commander, even if it is smaller, even if it doesn't carry 3 cars in vehicle mode, in Ultra Magnus's case, just because doing it one at a time at retail at $90 for a Commander is easier on the budget than dropping $250 plus tax plus shipping, and that's just if you're in the US. Shout out to the people who pre-ordered this in other countries where you had a very expensive order. You are the real ones. But point being, it would have been a lot easier on the wall. It would have been a lot easier to budget and tolerate if it had been done at retail level and come out 1 per year. Now, that has been a solid argument. However, since we first started talking about this Haslab, and since I first broke the prices down and just kind of made my argument for why this was an acceptable package for the price, we've gotten new information. And the information, I think, kind of makes a lot of things come together for me and makes me realize why this is all happening the way it's happening. And for that, we have to go to the 2025 Generations listings. So we already know that this is going to be a series that's going to focus on 2 things. It's going to focus on new combiner teams done the same way as Menasor, and then Legacy Menasor, I should mention. But it's also going to focus on the original 13 primes. So we pretty much know what the next trilogy is going to be in bulk, but it gets fuzzy farther out, right? However, I've been doing some thinking here. So if you look on the list, okay, we know we're getting primes. We know we're getting aerial bots. There's no official listing yet for commanders because commanders are not announced during Wave 1. So they were not being a computer system at Wave 1. They're commanders are mid-year releases. So they can be nice and plentiful around Christmas shopping time. So when it comes to the commanders, we presume that it's going to be Silverbolt because all of in 2025 for the aerial bots, because we know we know that all of the other size classes are pretty much spoken for, and we're expecting it to work very similar to how Motormaster worked. I don't know how they're going to come up with the extra bulk in order to form like a full Superion, but it really is the only size class that we don't know of for 2025, so it kind of has to be Silverbolt to complete the combiner team. So keeping that in mind, look at the listings once again. Do you notice the name Swindle in there? So when it comes to that, because it was all on its own without any other Combaticons listed, me and a lot of other people started to assume that that was probably animated Swindle. Because that would make sense. I mean, that's a popular character. It's a legacy character. Is like, if I was Hasbro, I'd kind of want to release one just in like a Derek J. Wyatt memorial way. Just to have like a version of his Swindle, his favorite character, in a form that isn't going to break down over time. Thank you, Clear Plastic. However, you see Wasp on this list, and Wasp is marked animated. And a lot of the previous animated figures in computer listings have been marked specifically animated Bumblebee, animated Optimus Prime, animated Prowl. So why is Swindle not marked? I have to believe that the only other option now is that he really is Generation 1 Swindle. And that changes everything. That changes all of my speculation about all this commander or not nonsense. So, remember what happened when they did Menasor and they had to release Breakdown and like sneak him in as a legacy toy during Legacy Evolution, and it made him really hard to get? Like, that was like the hard one to get outside of Motormaster. That was a mess. So in order to avoid the mess of doing that, we're getting a jump start on Combaticons in Wave 1 of Generations Prime, in Series 1 of Generations Prime. And then Year 2 is going to be where they do the rest of the Combaticons, which would mean that the commander for Year 2 is going to be Onslaught. Okay, so that's 2 years taken up. However, it's actually bigger than that. If we're doing the 13 primes, we need all 13. And that also means you need Nexus Prime, the original combiner. So, if that's true, then we need a team made up of, a big military truck, 2 jets, a tank, and a helicopter. And for those molds to exist, we need to go ahead and do Superion and Bruticus first, and we need to get them out during Year 1 and Year 2, so that in the last year of the trilogy, we can do Nexus Prime as another combiner character and complete the 13. That would mean Year 3 of Generations Prime is going to have Heatwave as that year's commander. It also means there's going to be some weird cross compatibility between the aerial bots and the Combaticons, which is going to be fun. But it's the only way all of this works. It's the only way all this makes sense, and that all 13 get out in the form you expect them to be in, which means the next 4 years of Commanders, this year included, are all accounted for. So 2024 Magmatron, 2025 Silverbolt, 2026 Onslaught, 2027 Heatwave. You're looking at 2028 to wait for an Optimus Prime, and 2029 to wait for an Ultra Magnus. That's 5 years out, and you know that in the next 5 years we're going to be due for a downsizing, a simplification. We're going to be we're going to be due for a price hike. Who knows what the condition of that RID Optimus Prime and Ultra Magnus would be if we had to wait that long. And given the themes that we're going with in the Next Generations trilogy, there's no way to release Optimus and Ultra Magnus within that, unless you throw in, a second commander per year, which frankly, with the way Hasbro's going right now and the way the Transformers brand has been going with the movies flopping, I don't really foresee that being marketably feasible. It's big enough that we've already got Commanders also being done in Studio Series. There's only so many $90 toys a retailer's going to be willing to take in. So, yeah, 2028 and 2029, we would have to wait, and who knows how they would be by then. Or we could just pay up now and have them next year, and know that they're going to be really rock-solid toys when we get them. So, there's your commander argument. It's not going to happen, because it's already locked down. All right? So, all that detective work and speculation out of the way, now that I've just spoiled Hasbro's plans for, a combiner team, 3 years from now, in 2020, in 2026, or 5, 6, 7. Oh my God. It's worse than I thought. Worse than I thought. 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 8 and 9. 8 and 9. 2029. Oh my God. Okay. Point being, it'd be absurd. It'd be absurd. And definitely, I think there's just too many drawbacks to doing it that way. Now, beyond this is going to raise even more questions, because for one, this is the first time a Haslab has been released for Transformers that has very doable redecos. I spoke about just being frustrated at, my personal frustration with RID Optimus as a Haslab was not, oh man, that's expensive. It is, oh wow, that cuts us off from a lot of really cool repaints. Now, they have stated that, they've never really gone there, but all things are on the table, so it's not an impossibility that we might get like a splendid yellow convoy. Maybe we get like the black and gold and red, like the super cool looking like lucky draw. Maybe we get the defensor that we never got. Lofty, but I think it's got some legs to it. I could see this as like a limited, like 10,000 piece run kind of toy. I think it would go over. I think they could get away with it. I don't know. Like, this puts us in uncharted territory because there's no repaint for G1 Unicron. There's no repaint for Death Saurus unless you go to Brave, and legally we can't. There's no repaint for Starsaber unless you go to like Robot Masters Decepticon ones, and I would argue that's a deeper cut than Yellow Splendid Convoy is, because at least her toy came out in the US somewhere. So that's going to leave us in uncharted waters, which is interesting to watch. I'm very interested to see if they actually do pull the trigger and decide we can get away with repainting this one. And maybe it's made available some other way. You'll at least be able to get to experience the Fire Convoy new mold, right? And that also kind of leaves us with what's next. I could do a whole video speculating about what does this mean for Haslab and where we go from here, because it seems like pairs are kind of a thing with Haslab that does seem to work, especially if those pairs are a bit of a deep cut that might not be financially viable at normal retail. Let's be honest, guys. RID Ultra Magnus would die a death at retail. Blue Bolts would too, by the way. No one's going to buy a weaponizer in 2029. So it's a lot. There's a lot to think about and speculate on. It's made for a very fascinating Haslab experience, even if it has led to a little bit of argument, and a little bit of negativity. Overall, I think it accomplished some pretty cool things, and overall, I think it was a fascinating one to watch. I mean, it was definitely uncharted territory in more than one ways. We left Generation 1. We're throwing an Optimus Prime in there. We're not giving you a secret tier. I'm sorry if you wanted that TIE figurine. It ain't happening. But you know what? It's lessons to learn on and a lot to speculate now. So, feel free to speculate in the comments below. Please don't get into the Commander argument. And we'll probably be discussing this for a long time to come in the news roundups every week. So, look forward to that. And as always, I will see you next time.